The night before our 5-year anniversary, I came across a personal item in the laundry that clearly didn't belong to me. Still warm, still fresh with our detergent. Couple days later, in front of 30 of our friends and family, my boyfriend stood up, toasted to new beginnings, and announced he was moving in with his coworker. 2 months later, his boss blocked his number and his new girlfriend ghosted him. Wanna know how we got here? Buckle up. It started with laundry. Frickin' laundry of all things. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't playing detective. I was literally trying to be a good girlfriend, folding the never-ending mountain of clothes that always somehow ended up being my job. I had my playlist going, hair in a bun, old hoodie on, and I was zoning out while sorting socks when my hand brushed against something that made my stomach drop. Lacy. Red. Not mine. And before you say, well, maybe it was from a long time ago, nah. I don't do red lace. I do Target multi-packs. And besides, these were fresh out the dryer. Warm. Fluffy. Smelled like our detergent. I just stared at them for a minute, holding them like they were radioactive. And for a second, my brain did the Olympic gymnastics of denial. Maybe they got mixed in with a neighbor's load at the laundromat? We don't use a laundromat. Maybe it was from some old Halloween costume I forgot about? Nope. Maybe I was going insane? But the truth was simple, someone else's underwear was in our laundry. And I knew, deep in my gut, it wasn't a mistake. I didn't confront him right away. I'm not proud of it, but I froze. I went silent. You ever get so shocked that your brain just buffers? That was me. I finished the laundry like a freaking robot, folded his shirts, stacked his gym shorts, put the lacy red betrayal in a plastic bag, and shoved it in the bottom of my drawer. And then I just sat on our bed, staring, for hours. When he came home later that night, sweaty from basketball, grinning like nothing was wrong, I felt this weird mix of nausea and rage. He kissed me on the forehead and asked what was for dinner. I said, "Takeout okay?" He said, "Perfect. Love you." I nodded, then locked myself in the bathroom and cried into a towel for 10 minutes straight. That was the moment I realized something had shifted. Not just in our relationship, but in me. I wasn't the same girl he met 5 years ago. I wasn't going to cry and beg and ask, "Who is she?" No, I needed a plan. Because if I was right, and let's be honest, I wasn't just dealing with a cheater. I was dealing with a coward who thought I'd never find out. But the thing about playing dumb, it gives you time to get really, really smart. Over the next few days, I became an actress. And not just any actress Oscar-worthy. I was playing the role of supportive girlfriend, like my frickin' rent depended on it. I smiled. I laughed at his corny jokes. I even gave him a frickin' massage while he played Call of Duty, pretending like I hadn't found irrefutable evidence that he was treating our relationship like a side quest. But inside, I was boiling. I wasn't sure who the girl was yet. But I had theories. Oh, I had theories. There was Lana from his office. The one he always claimed was just chill and one of the guys. She laughed way too hard at his jokes and posted thirst traps with work bestie in the caption. Then there was Caitlin, his ex who'd recently reconnected over some mutual friend's birthday. I never trusted that chick. She wore faux innocence like perfume. But I wasn't gonna guess. I needed proof. I needed something undeniable, something airtight. So, I started collecting. And it was surprisingly easy. See, cheaters are lazy. They think if they get away with it once, they'll get away with it forever. And Nate? He got comfortable. One night, I pretended to be asleep on the couch while he was scrolling on his phone. He laughed at something, sent a voice note, and typed, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow." Then he locked his phone and walked off to the kitchen like he hadn't just left digital breadcrumbs all over the dang place. Unfortunately for him, he didn't know I knew the code. I waited 30 seconds, opened it, and started snapping photos with my own phone like a freaking spy. Her name was Lana. Of course it was Lana. Their messages were disgusting. Like, the kind of cringe that makes you gag. She sent him mirror pics in her office bathroom, and he responded with, "Dang, I might fake a stomachache to come over." I wanted to throw his phone across the room. Or maybe throw him, but I didn't. I sent the screenshots to myself. I saved them in a hidden album. I logged into our shared iPad and watched their entire conversation history download like it was a Netflix drama, and I was the main character. Every miss you. Every wish you were here. She's been acting weird lately, I think she knows. Yeah, she did know. And she was planning something. But I wasn't gonna just blow up and scream. That's what he expected. He thought I'd cry and yell and beg. No, I was gonna let him dig his own grave, and then I was gonna bury him with receipts. Here's the thing about betrayal: once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's like putting on glasses for the first time and realizing you'd been squinting through life. Everything gets sharp, clear, painfully clear. So I started seeing everything. The way he turned his phone upside down every time we ate dinner. How he suddenly had late meetings twice a week, at a job where he literally writes emails. How he'd come home smelling like vanilla body spray when I use lavender. Before all this, I'd probably have gaslit myself into believing I was being paranoid. Now, I was collecting red flags like Pokemon cards. And with every new piece of evidence, I got a little bit quieter. He noticed. "You've been acting weird lately," he said one night while we were brushing our teeth. I shrugged and said, "Just tired." He smiled in the mirror like he bought it. But that smile? I was learning it wasn't real. None of it was. The most messed up part? He was still planning our 5-year anniversary party. Like we were some cute couple on Instagram, still in love, still building something, still worth showing off. The audacity almost made me laugh. Almost. And then, in the middle of all this, Lana had the nerve to post a pic with his hoodie. The one I bought him for Christmas. It was subtle, just a mirror selfie, cropped, but I recognized it instantly. My stomach dropped. So I messaged her. Yep. I broke the fourth wall. I wasn't confrontational. I just wanted to see how much she knew. So I messaged her from a burner Instagram account that I'd made that night, while sipping boxed wine and listening to Taylor Swift. Hey girl, just wondering, did you know Nate's been in a 5-year relationship? She left me on read. 10 minutes later, the post disappeared. But the next day, Nate came home with flowers. Like, old school, gas station, dying around the edges flowers. He handed them to me and said, "You've just been so amazing lately. I love you." It was almost cute. Almost. But I knew it wasn't love. It was damage control. I smiled, took the flowers, and kissed him on the cheek. "You're sweet," I said, and I meant it. Because the sweeter he acted, the deeper I twisted the knife in my head. I wasn't just waiting for the perfect moment to call him out. I was planning his public funeral, emotionally speaking. And it was coming soon. I picked the restaurant, I picked the invites, I picked the playlist, the table layout, the theme, that stupid dessert menu, because I needed everything to be perfect. 5 years of my life? I was gonna give that relationship the send-off it deserved. Dramatic, painful, cinematic. I told everyone it was a surprise anniversary dinner for Nate. I hyped it up like we were about to get engaged or something. My friends were side-eyeing me, whispering about proposals and Pinterest boards. His parents flew in from 2 states away. I even got his little sister to make a speech. He was glowing that night. Smug, charming, strutting in like he just won the boyfriend lottery. I could practically see the fantasy playing out in his head. Me, starry-eyed, thanking him for 5 amazing years. Him, pretending to be faithful, while Lana probably sat at home thinking he was finally going to leave me. Plot twist, Lana. I was the one leaving. I wore the red dress he once said made me look too intimidating. Good. I wanted to intimidate him. I curled my hair, did the eyeliner. I looked like a goddess risen from the ashes, and he? He looked like a dumb puppy who thought he'd gotten away with eating the couch. The dinner started fine. Toasts, laughs, wine pouring like a waterfall. I kept checking my phone, waiting, because I'd scheduled something. At exactly 8:30 p.m., his boss, yes, the big boss, the one he was always trying to impress, got an email from me with screenshots and a little note that said, "Thought you might want to know what Nate's been doing during client lunches, especially since company policy clearly prohibits personal relationships between employees and direct colleagues." It was petty. It was calculated. It was satisfying as hell. A minute later, I watched his phone light up with the first text, then another, then a call. He silenced it, smiled awkwardly, kept eating. Then, he stood up and tapped his fork on the glass. I kid you not, this man had the audacity to make a speech. "To 5 years," he said, raising his glass. "And to new beginnings." I froze. New beginnings? Was he about to do it? Then he added, "I know this might come as a shock to some of you, but I've decided to move out." People gasped. I stayed completely still. He continued, "I've met someone else. It wasn't planned. It just happened. But I'm following my heart." Dead silence. Someone coughed. His mom literally whispered, "Jesus, Nate." "And me?" I took a sip of my wine, stood up, and said, "Cool. I was hoping you'd go first." I pulled out my phone and tapped play on the screen recording I'd queued up. It was a full minute of Lana and Nate's texts. Blown up on the screen I'd connected to the restaurant's mini projector for the slideshow. The one I said would be a photo montage of our 5 years together. Yeah, it was a slideshow, all right. Of his cheating mess. Gasps. Screams. One guy dropped his fork. His sister said, "Oh my God," like she'd just seen a murder. And Nate? He just stood there, frozen, holding a champagne flute like it was the only thing keeping him upright. "You were saying something about new beginnings?" I asked, my voice syrup sweet. He didn't answer. But his face? That told me everything. He didn't even try to deny it. That's what got me. He just stood there, surrounded by friends, family, coworkers, blinking like someone had unplugged his brain. And I watched it hit him, one wave at a time. The text, the job, his parents, me. Everything was slipping through his fingers, and all he could do was clutch that champagne glass like it was going to save him. Lana never showed up that night, but I already knew she wouldn't. She ghosted him the second she realized the office romance wasn't going to get her a promotion, just a scandal. Apparently, HR had a lot to say about Nate mentoring her after hours. And once the screenshots hit his boss's inbox, the fallout was immediate. I stayed just long enough to enjoy the chaos. Long enough to see his mom glare at him like she didn't recognize the son she raised. Long enough to hear whispers and chairs scraping as people slowly started grabbing their coats. Then I dipped. Quietly. Calmly. Like the classy queen I was determined to be. I Ubered to my best friend Zoe's place, still wearing the red dress, heels in hand, mascara smudged from laughing so hard I cried. Zoe was waiting with tequila shots and leftover pizza, the kind of best friend who says, "You did what?" And then, "Hell yes, you did." I collapsed on her couch and exhaled for the first time in weeks. I felt light, free, but also hollow, because under the adrenaline and petty satisfaction, there was this deep, gnawing ache. He didn't just cheat, he wasted me. 5 years of loyalty, 5 years of Sunday mornings, and inside jokes and planning a future. 5 years of me showing up, being there, loving him when he didn't even love himself. And he threw it away for someone who wore love spell body spray and sent duck face selfies in office bathrooms. I wasn't heartbroken. I was insulted. I stared at the ceiling and whispered, "Was I really that easy to leave?" Zoe looked over, her eyes soft. "No, you were just that easy to take for granted." That line hit me like a gut punch. Because she was right. I made excuses for his selfishness. I ignored my gut when things felt off. I let him talk me into thinking I was too emotional every time I called out his coldness. I thought loving someone meant enduring them. But love? Love's not supposed to feel like surviving. That night, I deleted every photo, every text, every just checking in memory I'd been holding onto like proof of a real connection. I didn't need proof anymore. I had closure, and screenshots. And, let's be real, one hell of a story. You know what's wild? The days after it all went down felt quiet. Like the world was holding its breath. No calls from Nate. No pathetic apologies. No, you don't understand. It wasn't like that. Just silence. Which honestly was almost worse. Because a part of me, the part that still remembered the good version of him, expected some kind of closure. But he just vanished. Poof. Disappeared like a ghost who left dirty laundry and emotional damage behind. But the universe? Oh, she wasn't done. 3 days after the anniversary massacre Zoe's term, not mine, I got a message on LinkedIn, of all places, from his coworker, Dylan. I barely knew the guy, but he'd always been chill at office parties. He sent a DM that read, "Hey, not trying to stir anything, but just so you know, Nate got put on probation at work. Might be suspended. HR is not playing around." I just smiled. That was the thing about Nate. He thought cheating on me was just a relationship issue. What he didn't realize was that his little office romance, it broke like 3 company policies. Add in my email to the higher-ups, and suddenly, Nate was no longer the rising star in his department. And Lana? Gone. She ghosted him the second the spotlight turned ugly. Deleted her Instagram. Transferred departments. Probably ran for cover like a rat leaving a sinking ship. Word got around fast. People talk. People gossip. And somehow, I started getting messages from women I didn't even know. One girl said, "He was flirting with me on Bumble last year. I thought he was single." Another, "OMG. I always felt something was off. Thank you for exposing him." It was like I had unknowingly launched a small feminist revolution. The group chat Supreme Court had ruled Nate was officially trash. But me? I was starting to heal. Kind of. I won't lie, there were moments I missed him. Like muscle memory. I'd roll over in bed, expecting him to be there. I'd see a dumb meme and think, he'd laugh at that. Then I'd remember he was busy blowing up his own life for some discount office romance, and the nostalgia would get drowned in disgust. One night, while scrolling TikTok in bed with greasy hair and a bag of hot Cheetos, I saw a video that said, "Sometimes the trash takes itself out. But sometimes, you gotta drag it to the curb yourself." I snorted so hard I choked on a Cheeto. That's when I decided I wasn't going to keep hiding out, licking my wounds. I was done being the girl who got cheated on. I wanted to be the girl who came back hotter, stronger and unfazed. Cue the glow up. I started working out not out of revenge, but because my anxiety had turned into this gnarly buzzing I needed to sweat out. I went to therapy. Real talk. Best decision ever. I dyed my hair a little darker. Bought jeans that actually fit me right. Blocked Nate on everything. Everything. And then, just when I thought he was out of my life for good, he showed up. Outside my building. In the rain. With a stupid hoodie on and that pathetic look I used to fall for. He looked up at my window and yelled my name. Like this was a movie. Like I was gonna run down and kiss him in the street. Instead, I stood behind my curtain. Watching. Eating popcorn. Wondering if he realized the girl he was screaming for. She didn't live there anymore. 3 days after his pathetic rom-com Rain performance, he knocked on my door. I didn't answer at first. I watched him through the peephole, pacing, running his hand through his hair like he was rehearsing a speech. I swear, if he'd brought a boombox, I would have filed a noise complaint just out of principle. Finally, curiosity got the better of me. I opened the door, arms crossed, face blank. I didn't even say hi. He looked wrecked. Not like pretty, brooding heartbreak wrecked. Like lost wallet slept in his car for 2 nights wrecked. He whispered, "Can we talk?" I stepped back just enough to let him in, not because I wanted to hear him out, but because I wanted to see what kind of pathetic monologue he thought I deserved. He sat down on my couch like it was still his. Like the ghosts of 5 years weren't already haunting that spot. "I messed up," he started. I blinked. Wow. Groundbreaking. He winced like that physically hurt. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I needed you to know I regret everything." I let that sit there. Let the silence stretch just long enough to make him sweat. Then I said, "Do you regret cheating? Or do you regret getting caught?" He opened his mouth, closed it. Classic Nate, caught between excuses and silence. He tried again. "I thought things with us were getting stale. I felt unimportant, like you didn't need me anymore." I stared at him like he'd grown 2 heads. "So you cheated on me because I made you feel irrelevant?" I repeated slowly, just so he could hear how stupid it sounded out loud. He said nothing. I leaned forward, voice low and controlled. "You didn't cheat because I didn't need you. You cheated because you thought I wouldn't leave you." That hit hard. He looked down, rubbing his hands together. "Lana ghosted me, by the way. Said I wasn't who she thought I was." I laughed. Actually laughed. "Wow, you cheated on a woman who built a life with you, and then got cheated on by the woman who helped you do it. That's karma with a sense of humor." He looked at me with that puppy dog guilt he used to weaponize so well. But I didn't melt this time. I didn't budge. "You can go now," I said, standing up. He blinked. "Wait, that's it?" I shrugged. "What did you expect? A hug? Closure? I gave you 5 years. I gave you everything. Now I'm giving you the door." He stood up slowly, walked to the hallway, paused. "I hope someday you'll remember the good stuff." I smiled coldly. "I will. It'll remind me what not to settle for next time." Door closed, locked, deadbolt. And just like that, he was out of my apartment. But here's the twist. 2 days later, I got a text. Not from Nate, from Dylan. Yep, Nate's coworker. The chill, funny one from the office parties. The one who messaged me on LinkedIn. Apparently, he'd had a front row seat to Nate's unraveling and he wanted to buy me a drink. Said I deserved someone who didn't need to be dragged to therapy just to act right. And honestly, I was curious. Not in a rebound why, love me kind of way. Just intrigued. Because sometimes, after the storm, you owe it to yourself to see what peace feels like. Okay, full disclosure, I didn't plan to go out with Dylan. I told myself I was just being polite, that grabbing drinks was no big deal, that it wasn't a date, it was 2 people bonding over a mutual, what the hell did we just live through? But when I walked into that rooftop bar and saw him leaning against the railing in a leather jacket and a jawline that could slice through my lingering bitterness, yeah, I knew I was in trouble. He smiled when he saw me easy, unbothered, no pressure in his eyes, just a quiet kind of confidence, like he actually listened when people talked. A rare species. We ordered drinks. He got an old-fashioned. I got a dirty martini, because I was still in my I might burn this whole city down phase. "So," he said, clinking his glass against mine, "on a scale from 1 to, he should have been yeeted into traffic. How bad was it?" I nearly snorted my drink. We talked for hours. About everything. Not just Nate and the drama, but music, family, books, awkward teen phases, dream vacations. He told me about his dog. I told him about my failed attempts at baking banana bread during lockdown. We even roasted each other's Spotify playlists. And the thing that hit me the hardest, I felt safe. Not in a boring way. In a finally I can exhale kind of way. No performative charm. No underlying tension. Just presence. At one point I laughed so hard I choked on an olive, and he just handed me his water and said, "You good, assassin?" "Assassin?" I croaked between coughs. "You really took Nate down with surgical precision. HR still whispering about you like you're Voldemort with a manicure." I howled. I hadn't laughed like that in weeks. Then, because the universe loves drama, guess who decided to make a surprise appearance? Yup, Nate. He walked into the same rooftop bar like it was his final boss fight. I swear, if this were a movie, the soundtrack would have screeched to a halt. He spotted me instantly, eyes locked on mine. Then they slid over to Dylan. And the look on his face? Priceless. Like watching someone realize they accidentally stepped in dog crap twice in the same shoe. He didn't walk over. He just stood there, frozen, watching me laugh, really laugh with someone who wasn't him. Someone who wasn't faking it. I leaned over to Dylan and said, "You know what? I think he thought I'd be crying in sweatpants right now." Dylan raised his glass and whispered, "Let's give him something to cry about." He tilted his head, gently touched his hand to my chin, and kissed me soft, slow, but with intention. It wasn't for show. It wasn't revenge. It was just right. When we pulled apart, Nate was gone. Vanished. Again. Only this time? I didn't care. I looked at Dylan, a little breathless, a little stunned, and whispered, "That was dramatic." He grinned. "Yeah, but like, in the best way." And just like that, the script flipped. Nate was out. And someone real had stepped in. So here's the thing. They don't tell you about post-betrayal healing. Just when you think the drama's over, boom. The universe tosses you a bonus episode you didn't ask for. Mine came in the form of a group chat bomb. I was lying in bed, cozy as hell, watching some chaotic cooking TikTok when Zoe FaceTimed me with zero chill. Her eyes were wide. Her voice? Urgent. "Girl, get in the group chat. Now." I opened it and immediately choked on my tea. Screenshots. So many screenshots. Apparently, one of Nate's former friends had finally hit his limit and dropped the entire tea kettle into our friend group, like he was auditioning for Real Housewives of Suburbia. Turns out, Nate had been talking trash about me for months behind my back. to his friends, to random people at the gym, hell, even to a couple of my acquaintances. And not just regular breakup BS, deeply personal, messed up stuff. Like, she's too controlling, she's always anxious, or she let herself go. And I didn't sign up for that. The kind of stuff that makes you want to punch a mirror and then apologize to it for hearing such vile nonsense. I felt sick. My whole body went cold. Because yeah, I was anxious. I'd been trying to keep our relationship alive while he emotionally checked out. And sure, maybe I didn't look like an Instagram model in yoga pants, but I gave him loyalty, patience, freaking homemade lunches. And he still weaponized my softest parts against me. I threw my phone across the bed and just stared at the ceiling, blinking hard. It wasn't just about the cheating anymore. It was about disrespect. On a cellular level, the worst part? He wasn't even taking accountability. He was out here rewriting history, painting himself as the victim of a toxic, clingy girlfriend, so that he didn't have to admit he was just a coward with zero impulse control. Zoe texted me again. "I'm sorry. I should have known. I should have told you sooner." I texted back, "Don't blame yourself. This isn't on you, this is all him." Then I tossed my phone aside and cried. Like, ugly cried. For the girl I used to be. The girl who bent herself backward for a man who was trashing her name in private, while kissing her forehead in public. But after the crying, after the rage, came clarity. Because that was the moment I realized something important. Cheating wasn't the worst thing Nate did. The worst thing was how he dismantled me piece by piece while pretending to love me. How he let me think it was my fault, that I wasn't enough, that I was lucky he stayed. That night, I took out the last box of his stuff I'd been avoiding, tossed it in the hallway, slammed the door, and when Dylan texted me, "You okay?" I replied, "Honestly, I will be." Because I wasn't broken, I was pissed. And pissed women rebuild themselves in ways that shake the frickin' earth. So now we're in scorched earth territory. And let me tell you, there is a special kind of joy in watching someone self-destruct from a safe, emotionally healed distance. Because after the group chat expose, the dominoes really started falling. Nate lost everything he'd used to prop up his ego. First, he got officially suspended from work. HR launched a full investigation. Apparently, Lana wasn't the only one. There were whispers of a pattern. His promotion? Dead. His office reputation? Flushed. Second, his guy friends started bailing. Turns out, even the bros before Ho Squad had limits. One of them texted me and said, "Honestly, he's been toxic for years. You were the only thing making him tolerable." Ouch. But also, accurate. Third, he moved in with his older cousin in a crappy part of town, sold his gaming PC, and was last seen trying to get a bartending gig, just until things calmed down. Spoiler, they didn't calm down. And while I wasn't actively gloating, I'm not a monster. I wasn't exactly lighting candles for him either. I mean, I did watch his sad little Insta stories with a glass of wine and a petty smirk once or twice. Self-care. Meanwhile, my life was quietly thriving. Dylan and I weren't official or anything, but the vibe was good. Easy. No anxiety, no games. Just someone showing up when they said they would. Responding with full sentences. Being a grown adult with emotional intelligence, you know, pretty things. Zoe and I planned a weekend trip to the coast. I signed up for a photography class. I even reconnected with an old college friend who invited me to collaborate on a small design project. For the first time in years, I wasn't checking someone else's emotional temperature before making decisions. I wasn't putting my needs second. I wasn't surviving. I was living. But then, it happened. I got an email from Nate. Subject line, "Please read." I stared at it for a solid 5 minutes, heart doing that annoying flutter it does when the past knocks at your door with shaking hands and a sad little voice. I wasn't gonna open it. I swear. I was about to delete it. But curiosity took the beast of me, so I clicked. It was long, rambling, full of "I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I know I don't deserve anything from you, and I see now how I let fear control me." He admitted everything. The cheating, the lies, the way he manipulated me. He even said, "You were the only person who ever really saw me, and I hated you for it." That line? That one hit me. Because, yeah, I did see him. I saw his potential, his pain, his softness, his ambition. I saw all of it. And instead of rising to meet me in that space, he punished me for recognizing who he really was. He ended the email with, "I don't expect you to respond. I just needed you to know I finally understand what I lost." I didn't reply, not because I hated him, but because I finally loved myself enough not to. And honestly, that silence was louder than any revenge I could have screamed.